Falcon and the Winter Soldier was Marvel Cinematic Universe's second attempt at a direct TV show. This is different from the earlier Netflix TV shows, which I wouldn't say came to universal acclaim, but a lot of people loved at least the Daredevil. Earlier this year, we had Wandavision, which was a fairly unique attempt to take two of the more minor characters, Wanda and Vision, and really fill in a lot of this backstory. Now we have Sam Wilson, the Falcon, and Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, two very popular characters from the Captain America series and also showed up in later Avenger movies. These guys were beloved by everyone, but something went wrong in this series. The first problem is this is really a mishmash of a bunch of different comic book series. The most important one featuring the rise of US Agent. We have to go back to the 1980s where writer Marc Grunwald decided to get rid of Steve Rogers' Captain America. Well, kind of. At that time, Steve Rogers was considered kind of outdated. The word Boy Scout gets thrown around a lot. And part of the reason is we had come through a period of social change in the 1970s. And in the 1980s, you saw the rise of Dirty Harry culture, Death Wish culture, a lot of very much we have to take a very strong and active stance against crime. And this is because in the 60s and 70s, there was a lot of rioting, a lot of looting. Seemed like whatever goes, goes. Sounds kind of familiar, right? So people were saying that Captain America and his values were outdated. So Mark Grunwald decided to make a carbon copy of the Steve Rogers Captain America with US Agent. John Walker took over the mantle of Captain America as a Captain America who wouldn't be afraid to get his hands dirty, who would maybe kill when he felt it was necessary, as opposed to Steve Rogers, who would try to save lives if he could. And at first, readers were treated to a wild success. John Walker was able to take down a lot of very difficult villains who were creating mass destruction, mayhem, death. Steve Rogers could not handle them because he just wouldn't go there. The problem is, what tends to happen if you watch history is John Walker went a little overboard and started killing and hurting where it really wasn't necessary. And we get to see that the values that Steve stood for are really the values that we want. Now, John Walker eventually redeems himself and becomes the superhero US agent, which is basically just a black version, black costume version of Steve Rogers. And what we see in Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the lack of Steve Rogers really hurts any advancement in any of the characters. So as we see John Walker, he's not against Captain America. We don't have this standard, this shining example, or at least something we're familiar with to compare him to. Instead, we have Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes. Now, in the comic runs, Sam Wilson is currently a Captain America, if not the Captain America, but Bucky has also been Captain America. So there's a little bit of a dynamic in terms of which one of them has more of a moral right to pick up where Steve Rogers left off. Well, it turns out neither. Sam has basically rejected the role. He feels he can't live up to Steve's example, and he just wants to continue as he was. He's just a simple guy. He's the Falcon. Bucky, on the other hand, is trying to atone for his past, trying to make up for that period that he was the Winter Soldier. He feels he's tainted and he feels that he can't fill Steve Rogers' shoes. Now, this is a problem. Because we don't have that opposite for John Walker, the story kind of falls apart. It gets very muddy. What really needed to happen was this needed to be 6 episodes of how the Falcon becomes Captain America. It should be about how Sam Wilson finds a way to uphold the values of Steve Rogers, to make Cap the hero for freedom, for liberty, individualism, and not be Steve Rogers. That's the big sin of this. Now, what would you do with Bucky? Well, Bucky should be almost like Luke Skywalker was in the new trilogy. Okay, not drinking walrus milk. He should have been an advisor. He doesn't want anything to do with any superheroing, but Sam really needs him. And because Bucky knows Steve, Bucky has a lot of insight to give Sam about how he can fill this role, how he can don the mantle of Captain America without any super soldier serum and make this Cap a new Cap, but a Cap that everyone can still agree and like. US Agent really should have been in a different storyline. Once we already have established Sam Wilson as Captain America, and we know we like him and we agree with his values. In this universe, Steve Rogers is still alive. He's an old man, but he's still kicking. What they really needed to do was bring back old man Steve Rogers and have him give some advice to Bucky and to Sam. In this way, we have an actual passing of the torch in the series. We have this older mentor that, even if you're not going to use Bucky as the mentor, he can help Sam. And we can see that Sam gets his tacit approval, and we all see that Steve is totally cool with people doing things in a different way. That's the biggest flaw that we see in this series. Just no concrete direction for the heroes. The second problem is the tone. We see Marvel Studios trying to have their cake and eat it too. As I'm sure everyone knows, there's a bit of a political disagreement going on in the US in 2021. A lot of shows have, shall we say, gone woke. They like a certain political agenda. You have other people who do not like that agenda. And what we find is a clash of cultures. This show tries to thread that line and come down on both sides of the issues, and it really doesn't succeed. We can start by looking at the Flag Smashers. The enemies or the bad guys of the series are the Flag Smashers. And who are they? They're a group of people who, during the blip was a 5-year period where half the population disappeared and then they reappeared. So during these 5 years, there was lots of extra stuff. Your neighbors disappeared. You like their car? Great, the car's yours now. And so many people had more material wealth. When everybody came back, it's a very complicated situation of, well, hey, my family's lived in this house for 100 years. You only took it because we disappeared. GTFO, baby. And you would say, hey, man, this is my house. You were gone. I took care of it. I kept it from crumbling in. And these are complex issues that really we don't have very good answers for in our world because we've only seen things like this in times of war and people returning to their homelands. So the Flag Smashers themselves, their problem is they don't have enough stuff. They want to live wherever they want to live, and they want to have the stuff that they had during this 5-year period. That does not make for very good villains. And what are they willing to do? Well, they're willing to destroy property, they're willing to kill people, pretty much do whatever it takes. And now they have super soldier serum. This means they are also superpowered, which is a sub problem with this. Too many superpowered people. So just like in WandaVision, where the white general who was supposed to be the evil guy, who actually was trying to help people, was the hero of that story, whereas Wanda was the villain. What we see here is Marvel attempting to make us feel some sympathy for the villains when, murdering people because you want stuff has never really been okay. Then Marvel wants to bring in current racial issues in the US. We have the cops stopping Sam Wilson and questioning him, even though they're not really questioning Bucky Barnes, which, to be perfectly honest, they had a warrant for Bucky, wanting to know who the guy who's with the wanted criminal is really not so strange. Then we have Sam Wilson's sister, who's all bitter that she had to keep the family boat and the family house alive all this time when Sam was gone. Yes, it's very tough, but everybody had a tough 5 years. We have the case where there was a black super soldier in the 50s. He was taken prisoner and captured for a long time and basically written out of history. And he's a bitter guy. Yeah, that makes sense. He would be bitter. But to say that what happened in the 50s is the same as today, I think is a complete misnomer. So what you have is Marvel taking facts that in many cases don't make sense. For example, if Sam is having such problems with money and his family, why couldn't he just call Pepper Potts? Don't you think Tony Stark would have known that a lot of people on the Avengers didn't have any money and he would have created some kind of trust fund for them so they're all at least drawing a salary? How could one of the most famous men in the world go to a bank and the bank be like, yeah, I don't know. Like, hey, could you get Pepper to co-sign? Could you get one of the Pims to co-sign? There's people with money all over this who would certainly hook Sam up, but that didn't seem to happen. And Bucky must be collecting a mint on all those back pay from when he was in the military. Man. And all of this culminates in a very uneven final episode. What we have is Sam Wilson eschewing this nihilism and telling everyone, hey, I am Captain America. I am black. I reject this attitude that I can't be Captain America because I'm black, and I'm going to be the best damn Captain America that I can. Which is great, except he also gives a speech, a very mansplaining, talking down to speech about how we have to be nicer to all these people who have to give stuff back, and the governments need to be kinder and gentler to the people of the world. Oh, it just doesn't work. And we have other issues where John Walker, he's very disfavored. He is sort of the epitome of white privilege, pretty guy. He's made to seem like he did nothing to deserve the opportunity to be Captain America, even though he was the most highly decorated soldier, at least at that time. He went through many tests. He did the best that he could to uphold the values of Captain America without being a super soldier, even though he just wasn't able to do it. He redeems himself by helping the Falcon and the Winter Soldier defeat the Flag Smashers in the end. So it's a really mixed message. And I think a lot of people just don't know how to feel. Are we supposed to come down on the side of the woke agenda? Are we supposed to come down on the side of a rah-rah traditional US values? I don't know. I don't know what Marvel's trying to push. And while Marvel should not be trying to push one agenda overall, it is okay for certain characters to push their own ideals. But by having characters try to split it both ways, it just doesn't work. Thanks everyone for watching. Hopefully things will get sorted out by Captain America 4, which I assume would star Sam Wilson. If you like this video, Click the like button, subscribe, coming back with more content soon.